I've got the top 10 must-adds in fantasy basketball coming up next on Beat the Odds. Don't go anywhere. Hello sports fans and welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. I'm going to count down the top 10 must-add players ahead of week 21. If you like this content, then please smash that like button. And a special thanks goes to all of our subscribers who have been watching these videos, as you now account for 24% of all users. To the other 76% of users that haven't yet subscribed, I encourage you to do so, as it helps me create these videos for you. Also, leave a comment on a player that you think deserves to be on this list. Now let's dive right into number 10. We have Richaun Holmes, 12% owned. Last 2 weeks, he's got 24 minutes per game, 8.3 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1 assist, 1.3 steals, 0.5 blocks, 59% shooting from the field, and 88% from the line. With Marvin Bagley without a timetable to return, it's a good time to pick up Holmes. Richaun returned from a 3-game absence himself and posted 26 minutes in his game against Chicago. Picking up Holmes comes with a bit of risk, but he has a favorable matchup schedule playing against Houston, Sacramento, and Toronto next week. If Bagley remains out, Holmes seems to be a lock for a solid week. Going to number 9, we have Brandon Podziemski. 36% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 30 minutes per game, 9.5 points, 5.8 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.7 threes, 1.2 steals, 0.5 blocks, 1.3 turnovers, on 43% shooting from the field and 64% from the line. Starting against Steph Curry has its pros and cons, less shot volume, but you get incredible spacing. Pods is all hustle, so he also gets rewarded for doing the dirty work to help create the chances for the team's true offensive threats. His free throw percentage is unsightly, but he doesn't make it to the line enough for it to really be an issue. Expect a good mix of defensive stats with rebounds and assists from the rookie guard. Let's go to number 8. We have Grant Williams, 32% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 34 minutes per game, 14.4 points, 5.4 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.3 threes, 1.3 steals, 0.5 blocks, 3.1 turnovers, on 47% shooting from the field and 83% from the line. His center designation is truly a gift, and the biggest reason why he gets a nod on the list. He's more of a stretch 4 that can pop out for a corner 3, and he's a hard guy to move on defense. The biggest takeaway here is that he's of course getting minutes, my favorite stat to look at when I'm planning to add someone off the waiver wire. He's going to have a solid floor if he continues to see the court like he has been of late. Let's go to number 7. We have Aaron Nesmith, 41% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 32 minutes per game, 11.1 points, 3.3 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 1.6 threes, 0.7 steals, 1.1 blocks, 0.4 turnovers, on 38% shooting from the field and 96% from the line. My fondness for defensive players who can chip in on offense is well documented. The Pacers have seemed a little disjointed since the Siakam trade, but Nesmith has proven to be a rock in that starting lineup. Defensive stats are super important, as they could be the linchpin category in many head-to-head matchups for the upcoming playoffs. Nesmith will give your defense a nice boost. Let's move on to number 6. We have Simon Fontecchio's 47% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 32 minutes per game, 17.3 points, 5.1 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 3 threes, 1 steal, 0.4 blocks, 1.4 turnovers, on 50% shooting from the field and 94% from the line. It took a while, but Fontecchio has made his debut on this list. He settled into a shooter's role for the Pistons, much like Bojan Bogdanovic had before he was traded. Fontecchio has responded, being lights out on threes while sporting elite percentages. He's not going to do a whole lot on defense, but you would be getting Fontecchio for his offense anyways. Go ahead and get him if you need a scoring boost this week. Moving on to number 5, we have Gigi Jackson II, 37% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 31 minutes per game, 17.8 points, 4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 2.2 threes, 0.7 blocks, 1.5 turnovers, and 41% shooting from the field and 86% from the line. Much like Fontecchio, Jackson has emerged as a primary shooter on the depleted Grizzlies squad. He is a little erratic at times, but he has been able to post some huge scoring lines of late, including a 26-point performance with 6 threes this past Wednesday against Charlotte, and a 30-point barrage against OKC in a loss. The fact that GG is starting with Bane back adds more security to this pickup. Let's move on to number 4. We have Vasilij Micic, 38% owned. Over the last 2 weeks, he's got 32 minutes per game, 15.9 points, 2.9 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.4 threes, 1 steal, 0.3 blocks, 3.3 turnovers on 50% shooting from the field and 87% from the line. Micic has settled in as the Charlotte starting point guard while we wait to hear if LaMelo makes a return this season. My guess is that he won't, which should make Micic a safe player to deploy for the foreseeable future. His turnovers are unsightly, but you must appreciate all other aspects of his game, especially his percentages. As he becomes more accustomed to his role, his turnovers should decrease, which makes him more of a valuable pickup. Going to number 3, we have Bilal Coulibaly, 26% owned, 31 minutes per game over the last 2 weeks, 10.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, 1.9 assists, 1.3 threes, 1.3 steals, 0.9 blocks, 1 turnover, on 39% shooting from the field and 81% from the line. Now, Coulibaly missed Sunday's game with a sore right wrist, but it doesn't seem too serious, so I'm going to include him on this list nonetheless. Washington is auditioning their players, which is a nice effect of tanking, and Bilal was starting to get a long look on the court. When a defensive-minded player starts logging 30 minutes per game, you need to act. I would suggest picking him up unless news comes out that his wrist injury is more severe than originally thought. Let's move on to number 2. We've got Gary Trent Jr., 57% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 35 minutes per game, 23.4 points, 4 rebounds, 0.8 assists, 4.4 threes, 1.4 steals, 0.2 blocks, 0.6 turnovers, on 48% shooting from the field and 75% from the line. Another team in tank mode, the Raptors are routinely missing their primary scorers, which makes Trent a great pickup as he looks to pick up the slack offensively. He's knocking down threes at an impressive rate, and he's starting to rack up steals at a rate that we haven't seen for a couple of years. Gary has racked up 22 threes in the last 5 games. Look for that to continue this week. And finally, at number 1, we've got Amen Thompson, 52% owned over the last 2 weeks. He's got 22 minutes per game, 11.6 points, 6.4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 0.1 threes, 1.3 steals, 1 block, 1 turnover, on 65% shooting from the field and 77% from the line. Since Sengun went down with an injury, the Rockets have turned to defensive-minded and uber-athletic Thompson to fill the void. He has done that and more. He's averaged 2.6 stocks per game over the last month, and he's not forcing his offense, which has resulted in some impressive percentages from the field. Amen will be valuable throughout the final weeks of the season, but even more so for as long as Sengun is out. And that's going to do it here for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on the video, and of course subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I am going to sign off for now, but I will catch you guys on the next episode.